Okay. 37b. I have a 2 dots. So we're talking about the Mishnah mentioned how many placements of blood should you put on, and how many, if you did, is it good? So the Korban Chatos, the sin offering, was a debate between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai said if you do 2 applications, that's enough, and Beis Hillel said if you do 1, that's enough. So. So Chatos, Shtei Matanos. So Amar Huna, my time with Beis Shammai. Why does Beis Shammai say 2? So here we go. Quick background that we have something called, we have words in the Torah that you could read them, they're written one way, but when you pronounce them, they have a different meaning. Meaning, you could read it, and if you don't pronounce it with the vowels, it could have a singular meaning. But when you pronounce it, it could have a plural meaning. So we're going to see a bunch of those words. So usually it's referred to yesh aim b'mikra and yesh aim b'misoros. There's a way to read it and a way to pronounce it. So, for example, here's a good example. The corners of the altar are called karanos, corners. Now, there's Beis Shammai says karanos, karanos, karanos. So it says it 3 times. However, in the verses, they're really karnos, meaning karnos. See, in our Gemara, it has a vav, right? Kuf reish nun vav, vav saf. Karnos with the extra vav means plural, 2 corners. However, when it's written, it doesn't have that vav. So just because you have the vowels and you pronounce it karnos, but if you don't have the vowels, it can be written karnas, which would be singular. So it says karnos, and then it says karnos, and then it says karnos. So now, hare kan sheish, the way you pronounce it, they're all plural. So 2, 4, 6. You have to apply it. Sounds like you have to apply it on 6 corners, which would really be 3 applications. 1 can knock out 2 corners. So hare kan sheish. Arba lemitzvah. 4 of them are for the mitzvah. Vishtayim la'akiv. So Beis Shammai counts 6. Karnos, karnos, karnos. Even though it's written, you could understand it as singular. But the way our tradition is to pronounce it, we see that it's plural. So 2, 2, 2 gets you 6. 4 for the mitzvah, and 2 la'akiv. 2s are preventatives. 2 you have to do without doing 2. So you have not gone atonement. Ideally, you do 6. You do 2, it atones. That is the reasoning of Beis Shammai in our Mishnah. Beis Hillel, so Beis Hillel says karnos, karnos, karnos. So out of the 3 times it's mentioned, 2 of them he's going to interpret the way it's written, and therefore it's going to be singular. And the last one he's going to interpret the way it is pronounced, and therefore it's going to be plural. So you have 1, 1, and 2. Hare kan arba. Shalosh lemitzvah, you have 4. 3 for the mitzvah, and 1 is that you have to do. 1 is a preventative. If you don't do 1 application, then you will not gain atonement. So it seems to be that is behind the debate based on Beis Shammai exactly how to interpret these verses. So the ema means, says the Gemara, ema kulu mitzvah. Maybe they're all for the mitzvah, and if you don't do any of it, you're good to go. Maybe you have to do all 6 or all 4 for the mitzvah. Says the Gemara, it can't be. We don't find atonement for free, basically. You gotta do something. You gotta, nothing is free, right? So therefore, you can't read them as referring to only for the mitzvah. Not, ideally, you should do all of them, but if not, you're okay. You can't be okay because then you don't get any atonement. That's 1. Another reason for Beis Hillel that he holds 4, not 6. Ahani mikra, ahani misoros. So usually we have in the Gemara a debate if you go after the way it's written and after the way it's pronounced. Here, another answer for Beis Hillel is he's going to combine the 2. The way it's written, ahani mikra, the way it's written, is going to help us. The ahani misoros. What does that mean? If you go after the way it is written, then you have only 3. If you go after the way it is pronounced, then you're going to have 6. So ahani mikra l'tzruye chada, the ahani misores l'bitzure chada. So the way it is pronounced, you're going to add 1, and the way it's written, you're going to subtract 1. So therefore, what do you? what does that get you? Yeah, so it sounds like it'll get you 5. It'll get you 5 because if you pronounce it, then you get 6. If it's the way it's written, so then you're going to get 3. So you do the way it's pronounced, it's going to add 1 to you, and the way it's written is going to take 1 away. It sounds like that'll get you 5. Okay, and now that you have 5, so what do you?
Excuse me, Rabbi, we are lost. Where are you?
You are lost. 37b, 6 lines from the bottom. 7 lines from the bottom.
37b. Great, thank you.
No problem. Why does they still hold that 1 is a? Yeah, I guess I'm missing 1 step, but good. The way you pronounce it is 6. The way it's written will get you. Okay. So you're gonna subtract 1 and add 1, so you get 5. And how does that equal that 1 blood application minimally is required? I guess everybody's saying was 5, that still holds 4 is for the mitzvah, and 1 is going to be an essential, and 1 is going to be essential. So meaning either he holds you need 4, 3 for the mitzvah, and 1 is preventative, or you need 4 for the mitzvah and 1 is a preventative. I guess. Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's not telling us why Beis Hillel holds that 1 minimally works. It's just telling you either he reads the psukim that you have 4 total, and now there's an extra step that the Gemara doesn't tell us. This is like the assumption that it makes 4 total, and then Beis Hillel holds 3 for the mitzvah, 1 is essential, or it's going to be 5 total because it's going to be 5 total, and therefore you're going to have 4 for the mitzvah, and 1 is going to be essential. Yeah. Now, it's interesting to me that the way you read it, it counts it as 4, not 3, because the 3 times karnos are mentioned, they're all lacking the vav. There should be 3, not 4. Okay, fine. Either way, elamiata, if you're going to read it like this, that you can combine the 2, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced, so you're going to get in trouble. Why? Elamiata by tefillin, letotafos, so same thing. So it says in the Torah 3 times, totafos referring to the tefillin. So same thing. Before the second to last letter, the fe, and the last letter, so we pronounce it letotafos, right, with the O. But the way it's written, there's no O there. So it could be letotafas, which would be singular. So it could be singular or it could be plural. So according to that, hare kan arba. So we're saying there's going to be 4. Why is there going to be 4? Because the first time it is singular. The second time and the third time. How do they know? Yeah, it happens with karnos also. I don't know how they know that. Because the third and second time are pronounced, are written the same way. What? Oh, ula totavos. And what? And the karnos mean the same thing. Has the vav. So it's the vav that, okay. I guess so. Just find it the same. Yeah, I don't know. Tosus gets all involved in it. Like, I don't know. Fine. Either way, it sounds like you have 4. So you have 2 of them are written in a singular. 1 of them, maybe the vav, is going to be the plural. So you have 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. Arei kan arba. But according to Beis Hillel, clarify. These are the 4. These are the 4 partios. The 4 partios that you have inside of the tefillin. So by the head tefillin. Yeah, by the head tefillin, right inside you have 4 compartments. Right, both the head tefillin and the arm tefillin both contain 4 sections of the Torah. That stays the same. The difference is that by the head tefillin, it's divided up into 4 compartments, and by the hand tefillin, it's only 1 compartment. So So fine. So that's 4. Now, according to Beis Hill, that you're going to use both the way it's written and the way it's pronounced. So what should you do? You should get to 5. So if you say ahani krav ahani masaris, you have chamisha, because if it's the way it's just pronounced, you're going to get to 6. The totafos, that o makes it plural. You have 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. If it's the way it's written, you have 4. So add 1 to 4 and subtract 1 from 6. So this much I know from math. You get 5. So you get 5. Now that's not true. There are not 5 sections in your tefillin. So how could that second answer by the corners of the mizbeach use this kind of a derivation of using the way it's pronounced and using the way that it's written to add 1 and subtract 1? You're going to end up with 5 sections of your tefillin, which is a problem. So says the Gemara, you're right. Beis Hillel, according to that answer, is going to learn like Rabbi Akiva. Savar like Rabbi Akiva. This is very interesting. The Amar, the word tot, I think Rashi says this in Flemish. The word totafos is actually it's comprised of 2 parts. Tot, pat, bekatve, in katve, a certain language, means 2, and pat, the Afriki shtaim, and pat means 2. So meaning the word itself, tot and tot, is 2 and 2. That's now. I remember at some point, I think they bring it that right. It was a very simple question, like what in the world is the Torah doing using African languages to describe what tefillin is, right? So it's a good question. This happens not the only time in the Torah that it seems to be that another language might creep in. It's not like the one answer they give is that no. Everything had its root in Hebrew before last week's parsha, when Hashem dispersed all the nations and gave them all the different languages. Then languages developed, but it all stemmed from Hebrew. So that's what some say, even some of the foreign languages, but the original source was all in Hebrew. So yeah, but that's an interesting question to look into. Either way, we're not going with totaphosis. We're going the actual word means 2 and 2, and that's what that opinion of Beis Hillel is going to hold. And therefore, he can still learn that our corners of the altar can be derived through using the way it's written and using the way that it is pronounced, and this won't be a problem to us. Elamiato, same thing with Sukkos. Basukos. So once again, that vav at the end, if it's written, it'll be plural. It's written without the vav, at least 2 out of the 3 cases, but it's pronounced with the vav. Now, the Gemara in Sukkah is deriving how many walls we need for a sukkah. So basukos, so it depends. If you go after the way that it is pronounced, you're going to get to 6 walls. If you go after the way it's written, so then you're going to get to 4. Says the Gemara, ahani krav ahani masores. According to the way that the second answer earlier understood the corners of the altar, that you can use both the way it's written and the way that it's pronounced, what should happen? You should get to 5. Ahani mikrav ahani masores. Hamisha defanta ba'ilum avid. You should need 5 because the way it's pronounced will get you 6, so subtract 1. The way it's written is going to get you 4, so add 1. But if you add 1 to 4 and subtract 1 from 6, you're going to get 5. And yet we know that that's not true. We don't have a 5 walls in our sukkah. So says the Gemara, you're right. Hasam chad kra kula legufe. Take away one of the psukim that you just need it for itself. What is a sukkah? So take that away. V'chad l'schaka. So you need one of them for the sukkah, one of them for the schach. So asai hilchasa v'garasa l'shlishis v'kimta atefa. So you take one away because you need it for itself. So now you're left with 4. After 4, you take one of them away to teach you that you need schach. So now you have 3 left. Comes halacha Moshe Sinai and tells you that the third wall can be even a tefach. Right? You don't have to have a full third wall. It could even be a tefach. So another way out of that problem. Fine. Elameato, that after a woman gives birth, it says she's impure for shvu'ayim. We read it shvu'ayim. Once again, at the third letter that we have in our Gemara, shin vez vav. So if you read it shvu'ayim, that equals 2 weeks. It's a shavua plural. So shavua tov, right? So shvu'ayim, that'd be 2 weeks. She's impure for 14 days. Now, if you don't have that vav the way it's written, you could pronounce it as shivim. She's impure for 70 days. This is after she gives birth to a daughter, to a female. So which one is it? Is it 14 days, meaning 2 weeks, or is it 70 days? So if we go after the way it's written and after the way it's pronounced, so what are you going to get? So here, a little bit of this, like a little fancy footwork over here, is that you take 70 days and you take 14 days, and you're gonna what's the difference between them is 56. So 56, you're gonna divide it by 2, you get to 28. So if you add 28 to 14 and you subtract 28 from 70, you're gonna get the same number. You're gonna get 42. so right. So if you go like that, find the middle ground between them. That's 56. That's the middle ground. So if you're gonna add and then subtract, get the same number. Now that's not true. We don't find that she's impure for 42 days. So our boy betraying boy lemesa says the Gemara, no, not a problem. There it's different. Shiny hasam dichsiv keni dasa. It's different because it says that she's going to be impure like a nida, keni dasa. So you don't have a right to. A nida is never impure for 42 days. So therefore, basically what it's saying is that just like Anida is impure for a week, so this is just 2 times that Shu'ayim, meaning since the verse itself compares this lady to Anida, and Anida we know is impure for 1 week, so therefore it tells you that you should interpret the verse as Shu'ayim, just referred to as weeks. Don't read it as Shivim, even though it's written without the Vav. Don't read it like 70. It's referring to just double what Anida is. So if Anida is 1 week, a Yoledes, a lady who gives birth, is 2 weeks. Fine. Okay. Either way, that was the first 2 answers for Beis Hillel. That really depends on how you read the psukim. Either you go after the way that it's after the way it's written, or you go after both. Either you have 4, 3 for the mitzvah, 1 for the 1 is a preventative, or you have 5, 4 for the mitzvah and 1 for the one that it's a preventative. Okay. So the Tana Ma'isla Mehalka, but another maybe the author of our Mishnah learns that from here. So in the section of a Korban Chatas, there towards the end of the 4th chapter of Vayikra, it says v'chiper v'chiper v'chiper. So it says the word you shall be atoned for 3 times in 3 different cases. So why does it say 3 times? So so let's see. So it says that you would have thought that maybe 1 application is enough and that's it. So what do you think? What do you have it to why do you have to have the Torah tell you 3 times that you shall atone, you shall atone, you shall atone? You'd have thought maybe once is enough. The halo dinu. Namru damim lamata, v'namru damim lamala, ma'matan damim lamamur lamata, shenasam matan achas keeper, after lamamur lamala, shenasam matan achas keeper. On the one hand, compare the blood applications that you have to do under the red string to the blood applications that have to be done above the red string. Just like it says blood on top, those blood applications, 1 is enough. So too the applications that are below the red string should also be enough. So learn from there that 1 application is going to be enough. So says the Gemara, that's one way to learn, or maybe go down the other path. Namru damim b'fnim, the 4 sacrifices that we bring the blood on the inside, on the inner altar. It says blood over there. The namru damim b'chutz, and it says blood outside on the outer altar. Ma dam hamurim b'fnim chisar achas min hamatanos lo asa v'lo klum. Av damim hamurim b'chutz chisar achas min hamatanos lo asa v'lo klum. So either you're comparing the blood applications from on top of the red string to the bottom of the red string, which teaches you that 1 application is enough, or maybe you'll compare from the inner chatas offerings that are brought on the inner altar. There, if you're lacking 1 application, there's 0 atonement. It's all or nothing. Not 1 is enough. It's all or nothing. So maybe so too the applications of the sin offering on the outer altar should be the same thing. It's all or nothing. There's not saying that 1's enough. So which way do you go? So says the Gemara, near lemidoma. What's it more similar to? Done in chutz michutz, ain't done in chutz mifnim. The outer altar is similar to other applications on the outer altar, and therefore, if you just do one, it's enough. But it's not. It's less similar to the chatas offerings on the inner altar, or at the end of the day, the ones on the outer altar are sin offerings. The ones on the inner altar are also sin offerings. Learn out the outer sin offerings, which are sin offerings, are placed on four corners of the altar, from the inner sin offerings that are placed on four corners of the altar. To other offerings that are on the outside altar, which are not sin offerings, and do not have to be applied on all four corners. So you see that without any pasuk, logically, you can go different ways. You're not going to know exactly the outer sin offerings. Is one application enough because you pattern it after the other offerings brought on the outer altar? Or do you pattern it after the sin offering brought on the inner altar, which then one would not be enough? You have to do everything that the Torah says, four applications. So you don't know which way to go. And that we say, Talmud Lomar, v'chiper, v'chiper, v'chiper. So it says that you should, it says the psukim, v'chiper, 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 to teach you that, so let's see, to teach you, v'chiper, afal pishlan nasan ela shalosh, teach you, even if you do three is enough, v'chiper, afal pishlan nasan ela shtayim, v'chiper, afal pishlan nasan ela achas. The Torah says you have to do four applications. And then it says the chibur should be atoned for three times. Each one is taking away how much of the essential application has to be. So even though the mitzvah is four, but right now this suggestion is suggesting that the three times it says you should atone for knocks down how much you have to do as your bare minimum. So you're left with one. It says you have to do four applications. It says b'chipra three times. Knocks it down to you have to do one application to fulfill your bare minimum, and that would be the understanding of Beis Hillel in our mission. To that, the Gemara says the words b'chipra are not available to teach us that. Why? You need it for itself. You need it for itself to teach you what? To teach you. Yeah, meaning those three words b'chipra, the Gemara puts them all together, but in the Torah, one is in the 26th verse, one is in the 31st verse, one's in the 35th verse in the 4th chapter. Each one of them is talking about a different sacrifice, a different offering over there. So maybe each v'chiper is not open for interpretation. It's just teaching you that for that offering, you will get atonement. That's all it's saying. If you bring this offering and apply the blood, you get atoned for. If you bring that offering, you apply the blood, you get atoned for. The third offering, you bring blood, you get atoned for. But it's not available to knock down our four applications down to one. It's not available for that. So Amar Rava bar Ada, Amar Rava bar Ada, bar Ada Mari, Amar Rava bar Ada. Mari is part of the name now. Mari Asavrli, my teacher explained to me. Good. So Amar Rava Ada Mari, my teacher Asavrli, he explained to me. Amar, it says in the first v'chiper that we brought in the 4th chapter, 26th verse, in Vayikra, it says v'chiper v'nislach, that one should be atoned for, and then v'nislach, and he'll be forgiven. It says the Gemara, zuhi kapara, zuhi slicha, that they seem to be repetitive, that zuhi kapara, zuhi slicha, and therefore that teaches you that you get atoned for. And therefore, the word v'chiper is open to teach you that it can knock down the requirement from 4 to 1. Because each time it says v'chiper v'nislach in each one of the verses. So that the Gemara assumes is repetitive. You should be atoned for and forgiven, atoned for and forgiven, atoned for and forgiven. So the forgiven part teaches you that you get forgiven, and maybe the atoned teaches you that you can knock down your obligation, your bare minimum obligation of your blood application is going to be knocked down to 1, like we originally thought. It was interesting to me because we say in by the vidui, it's lachanu, It's two different things, forgiveness and atonement. But here we're assuming when it comes to the sacrifice and offering the blood, that it's repetitive. Meaning the word v'nislach, that you get forgiven, teaches you that you're forgiven. What does v'chiper teach you? So we're assuming v'chiper, each time it says v'chiper, teaches you that your bare minimum of how much blood you have to put on the altar in order to get atonement is going to be only one application. Ideally, you should do 4, but minimally, you should do 1. Okay. On that, the Gemara says, "Ema v'chiper afal pi shelo nasan." So maybe v'chiper afal pi shelo nasan ela shalosh lamala v'achas lamata. Maybe v'chiper teaches you that even though you only placed, let's say, 3 blood applications above the red string and 1 below the red string, that'll be good. And v'chiper afal pi shelo nasan ela shtayim lamata v'shtayim lamala, or you do 2 below and 2 above, and then the third v'chiper teaches you v'chiper alfi shel nasan lamala ela lamata. Maybe all the v'chipers come and knock down, meaning you have to apply 4 above the red string if you're a sin offering. So maybe each v'chiper doesn't come to, meaning we're agreeing it's going to come to diminish something to your bare minimum. So right now we're assuming it meant the 4 corners of the altar, 4 applications. 1 application is enough. Says the Gemara, maybe when it says v'chiper 3 times, it's telling you that instead of applying 4 above the red string, really you can apply 3, 2, or even if you apply 0 above the red string and all below the red string, that'll still be atoned for. Amar Vada Yitzchak, how can that be? In Cain bitalta Torahs arba chronos, but the Torah says you should do it differently. You should apply 4 above, not below. So you're just going to remove that whole part of the Torah. Says the Gemara, well, if the Torah says so, if the Torah says to do it, and then it says v'chiper 3 times, then maybe it says that you should do it as a mitzvah, but minimally, if you do them all under the red string, that suffices. V'yirachmana amar levatlim. The Torah says it, then you'll have to nullify it, and it'll only be, and you can fulfill your requirement by applying it under the red string. Yeah. Amar Rava. So, Ezehu davar shetzarich shalosh, have omer elu karanos. So, says Rava, what is something which needs 3? 3 times says v'chiper. That's referring to the karanos, to the corners of the altar, and that teaches you that you need 3, and each time it says v'chiper, it's coming to knock it down. That all you have to do is 1 minimum. 1. 1 second. Yeah. So if it says that you do 4 applications above the red string, and you want to come and tell me that the 3 times it says v'chiper is to minimize it down to 0 above the red string, so really you should need the word v'chiper 4 times. Meaning, how did you get from 4 applications above a red string to 3 times it says v'chiper to 0 applications above the red string? Doesn't make so much sense. So says Rava, what makes more sense? When it says 4 times you have to apply it on the 4 corners of the altar, you have 3 v'chipers, so that teaches you that 4 is for the mitzvah. The 3 v'chipers will diminish it down to what's your bare minimum, only to apply the blood to one of the corners. So if you have 2 ways to go, 4 above the red string to 0 versus 4 applications on the corners of the altar down to 1 application, it's more logical that the 3 v'chipers knock it down to 1. 4 minus 3 is 1, versus somehow 4 above the red string, 3 v'chipers, to get you 0 above the red string. That's Rava's point. Okay. On these v'chiper, says the Gemara, Ema v'chiper apal pishlo nasan al achas l'mala v'shalosh l'mata. Once again, who says that's true? Maybe v'chiper tells you, even if you applied 1 above, you could split it, 1 above and 3 below. That would be enough. Instead of 4 above, you do 1 above and 3 below. right? So then that'll be good. Meaning that would be good. You have 4 applications above the red string. 3 times it says v'chiper. So do the math. Do 1 above and 3 below. So maybe that's what the 3 times v'chiper is coming to tell you. Meaning we're agreeing that it's coming to diminish from your mitzvah to your bare minimum. The question is, what is it diminishing? The amount of applications or the location of the applications? So says the Gemara, no, we never find that. Lo matzinu damim shechetzin lamala v'chetzin lamata. We don't find in the Torah that you split applications like that. Half up here, half down there. That doesn't make sense. Says, well, really, you don't ever find that. The Hatnan, the Kohen Gadol, by the inner sin offering, what does he do? Right, this is our Musaf service. Yeah, he's a mimenu achas lamala v'sheva lamata. He sprinkles blood 1 above and 7 below. So what do you see? We do find that we split sometimes 1 up and 7 down. So just like you find by the Kohen Gadol on the inner altar that he splits, that not the inner altar, in the kosher production, that he splits it 1 above and 7 below. So too, maybe that's what the Chipper teaches you: 1 above and 3 below. No, that's not what happens over there. There it's kematzlif, mai kematzlif machve. Meaning there, it's not talking about he has to go above and below. It's the way he does it. So his fingers, right? 1 is sprinkled like this in an upward motion, I guess, like this, and 1 is like this. So one is like this, and then 7 are like this. So the way he sprinkles the blood is like is in that motion. So therefore, it sounds like we're not so exact that he has to get above and below. We're more exact at the formation of his fingers. The 1 has to be sprinkled like this, and 7 have to be like this. Rabbi Yehuda is kimangenda. It's like being whipped. Like being whipped, you start from the shoulders and then you go lower down on the body. So to here, you start like this, and then you go lower and lower and lower. That motion with the fingers. So that's all it means. So we're not as particular about exactly where it sounds like where it lands. We're more particular about how you sprinkle it with your fingers. So therefore, it's not a proof that you could have half above and half below, because it's just the finger formation that we're particular about with the Kohen Gadol. Fine. So yeah, he's al taharu shel mizbeach shiva pa'amim. So it says there that one sprinkles al tiharo. It says on the purity of the altar. So what exactly does it mean? You sprinkle with the purity of the altar. Here's the verse. Yeah, he's al taharu shel mizbeach shiva pa'amim, 7 times. So what does it mean that on the inner altar you sprinkle it 7 times? Turning the page, it says the Gemara, "Ma'ilav apalged mizbeach kedamar inshi tira the yoma." The word tahor, interesting word. We know it commonly as pure versus impure, tahor versus tameh. But in this context, maybe tira is also referring to the exact point where the sun is in the middle of the day, the heat of the day. It's right in the middle, right, noontime or whatever. It's right in the middle of it. It got to its peak and it's about to go down and begin its descent. So maybe the word tihar by the altar is the same thing. You got to do it right in the middle, meaning you could have some applications above and some below. So since you have to do it in the middle and you can't aim for exactly in the middle, so because when you put blood exactly in the middle, some will go above and some will go below. So you see that you found a place in the Torah where the blood application could be somewhat above and somewhat below. So maybe that's what the Chipper tells you, that you could have 1 above and 3 below. So Amarav Barshila, no. The word tar doesn't mean here to like the middle of the day. Rather, it means a gilui de mizbeach. What it means is like on the top of the altar. That's what it means. That the verse says in Shmos that says uke'etzem hashamayim letohar, and the tohar here is referring to on top. So which part of the temple? Yeah, here we're saying the word Torah really means the top of the temple. Why? Because it's the part from the word to clean, Torah, like to purify, because that's the part that you would clean from all the ashes. You would clean the ashes off of it and then reveal the top of the altar. So you would clean it off and make it nice. That's why it's called Taro, just like in the verse in Shmos, it says, "Uke'etzem hashamayim latohar." It'd be like clear heavens, right? It's talking about the sorcerers in Mitzrayim, no? I believe. Yeah. So says the Gemara, what do you mean you never find that you apply things some above, some below? Ha'ika shirayim, the remnants you just pour onto the base. So you have applications, let's say above the red line, the red string, and then you have the remnants you just pour from the vessel onto the base of the altar. So some pourings go above and some pourings go below. Said no. When we said we never found applications above and below that are split, we meant an application that atones. Shirayim lo ma'akli. Remnants in the cup, those don't atone, they're remnants. The actual blood applications, we never find that part of it's above and part of it's below. But yes, you can find the remnants poured onto the base. That we find, but that's not what we're talking about. So it says the Mar'ai v'ha'ika shirayim hapanimim, from the inner, from things that are brought on the inner altar, you have the remnants, and you have an opinion that holds the ikademand amar ma'akvi, and one of them holds that the remnants being poured onto the inner altar does prevent atonement. So you do find that you have sprinkling above the red string and remnants poured on the base of the inner altar. So you do find a split. So maybe that's what the Chipar tells you. You could split one sprinkling above the red line, the red string, and three below. Says the Gemara, no. When we say that we never found sprinkling of the blood split above and below, we meant in one place. In one place, we never found that. Meaning when you have to sprinkle it on one part of the altar, we never found a split. Some can go above and some can go below. But yes, there are times like this where there are two different places of the altar that you have to pour. One's on the base, the remnants, and one is on above the red string. A few minutes. So we're just getting started, right? So just warmed up, yeah. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, "Beishamei Omer shtei matanos shebechatos, shtei matanos shebechatos, ve'achas shebechol zebachim matiros umifaglos." So now, Beishamai says the two minimal applications for your chatas offering, and the one minimal application for the rest of your offerings, matir, they permit you to consume the meat, to bring up the sacrifice on the altar. They're permitters, umifaglos, and they cause our favorite thing, pigul, right? They can cause pigul. If you have the wrong intent during the two applications by chatas or the one application by regular offering, if you want to eat that offering outside the right time, you will not have such a pretty ending. Yeah. Beis Hillel says one application by a chatas offering, and the other one application by the rest of the offerings is a permitter. It allows you now to eat the meat and bring up the sacrifice onto the altar. Umifagelis, and it gets you pigul, and it can get you pigul. So fine. Now let's see if that's going to hold water. Maskefler of Oshia in Cain. If this is true, so what happens? You have Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. Which one is more strict, and which one is more lenient? So Beis Shammai says that really, Beis Shammai says, is he more strict or more lenient? Yeah, so the way we're learning now is that according to Beis Shammai, you have to have the pigul thoughts during both blood applications by a chatas. If you only have it with one application, it won't be pigul. So that's a leniency, right? It's harder for Beis Shammai to get you pigul by a chatas offering. So and for Beis Hillel, it's going to be a stringency. What's the problem? That in the Mishnayos and Edios, it lists a whole bunch of exceptions to the rule where Beis Shammai is more lenient. He's always more strict, and Beis Hillel is always more lenient, except for like 22 cases or something like that. 21 cases where Beis Shammai is the lenient one and Beis Hillel is a strict one. So if this is true, they should have taught this leniency in that list of leniencies for Beis Shammai, to which the Gemara says, no. Amar le Rava ki itchel lehetera itchel v'havlo Beis Shammai lechumra. That originally we taught Beis Shammai for his stringency, that you need to have two applications to get you to get you atoned for. Parenthetically, we taught that it's harder to get piggled. But the primary point of the mission was to teach you that Beis Shammai he needs more. He needs more for you to atone. 2 applications. As an aside, it mentioned that you have to get piggled for that also. But that wasn't the primary teaching of the Mishnah, which is why it wasn't taught in the list of leniencies in Adios.